Picture this: a young girl from a poor family stepping through the towering red gates of the Forbidden City. At just 16, she is only a concubine, unnoticed, unimportant. But one day, this very girl will become the most powerful woman in China, ruling from the shadows for nearly half a century. In the tapestry of Chinese history, few figures loom as large or as enigmatic as Empress Dowager Cixi. Born in humble circumstances, she would seize the reins of power to become the de facto ruler of the Qing Dynasty, wielding supreme authority from behind a delicate screen of imperial protocol. Her life story is one of extraordinary ambition, resilience, and controversy. A woman who, against all odds, controlled the destiny of an empire during its most turbulent years. To understand Cixi, one must first picture the world into which she was born. In 1835, the Qing Dynasty had ruled China for nearly 2 centuries. The imperial court in Beijing was a place of rigid hierarchy, ceremonial splendor, and unyielding tradition. Society was deeply patriarchal, and women of even the highest rank were expected to remain in the shadows, their influence limited to the domestic sphere. Yet within these confines, the palace was also a crucible for intrigue, where intelligence and subtlety could sometimes accomplish what brute force could not. Cixi, whose given name was Yahenera, entered the Forbidden City at the age of 16, chosen as a consort for the young Xianfeng emperor. While she was not his primary wife, she quickly distinguished herself through her intelligence, poise, and political acumen. In the imperial harem, advancement depended not only on beauty, but on one's ability to navigate a labyrinth of rivalries and alliances. Cixi excelled at this delicate dance, and in 1856, she bore the emperor his only surviving son, the future Tongzhai emperor. This singular event would change her fate forever. When the Xianfeng emperor died in 1861, the Qing dynasty was beset by crisis. The Taiping and Nian rebellions had devastated the countryside. Foreign powers encroached on Chinese sovereignty, and the imperial treasury was nearly empty. The emperor's heir, the Tongzhi emperor, was just 5 years old. According to tradition, the regency would fall to a council of male officials. But Cixi, together with the Empress Dowager Cixi, orchestrated a coup against the regents, rallying loyal bannermen to their cause. The coup, known as the Xinyu Palace coup, was swift and bloodless. The regents were removed, and the 2 empresses, Dowager assumed the role of co-regents, ruling in the name of the child emperor. From this moment onward, Cixi began to shape the destiny of China from behind the throne. She was never declared empress in her own right, nor did she ever sit openly as sovereign. Instead, she governed through a complex web of influence, issuing edicts in the name of the emperor, attending court sessions from behind a silkscreen, and manipulating court politics with masterful subtlety. Her power did not rest on formal titles, but on her ability to command loyalty, outmaneuver rivals, and maintain the delicate balance of the imperial court. Cixi's rule was marked by both reform and resistance. In the early years of her regency, she recognized the need to modernize the Chinese state. She supported the self-strengthening movement, which sought to adopt Western technology and military techniques while preserving traditional Confucian values. Under her auspices, arsenals, shipyards, and telegraph lines were established. She encouraged the study of foreign languages and sent delegations abroad to learn from Western nations. Yet, she also remained deeply conservative, wary of reforms that threatened the core of imperial authority or the Confucian social order. Her political longevity was due in part to her keen understanding of human nature. She rewarded loyalty generously, but dealt harshly with betrayal. Rumors abounded of rivals who met untimely ends, and Cixi's name became synonymous with cunning and ruthlessness. At the same time, she was known for her charm, wit, and cultural refinement. She presided over a court of exquisite elegance, patronizing the arts and setting standards of fashion and decorum that would influence Chinese society for generations. Cixi faced one crisis after another. When the young Tongzhi emperor died in 1875, reportedly of smallpox, she was once again at the center of a succession struggle. Rather than allow the throne to pass to a candidate favored by the court, she installed her own nephew, the 3-year-old Guangxu Emperor, on the throne. She retained her role as regent, continuing to govern in the name of a child emperor. Even as the Guangxu Emperor came of age, Cixi ensured that his power remained limited, surrounding him with loyal advisors and keeping the machinery of state firmly under her control. As the 19th century drew to a close, the pressures facing the Qing Dynasty grew ever more acute. Foreign powers carved out spheres of influence, imposed humiliating treaties, and extracted concessions from a weakened China. The defeat in the First Sino-Japanese War of 1894–95 was a devastating blow, exposing the inadequacy of the Qing military and fueling calls for more radical reforms. The Guangxu Emperor, influenced by reformist thinkers, launched the 100 Days Reform in 1898, a sweeping program to modernize government, education, and the military. For Cixi, these reforms went too far, too fast. Fearing the loss of imperial authority and the unraveling of traditional society, she staged a dramatic coup. The Guangxu Emperor was placed under house arrest, reformist officials were purged, and the old order was restored. Critics denounced Cixi as a reactionary who had stifled China's last, best hope for renewal. Yet to her supporters, she was a bulwark against chaos, preserving the dynasty and the Confucian values that underpinned Chinese civilization. Perhaps the most controversial episode of her rule was the Boxer Rebellion of 1900. As anti-foreign sentiment erupted into violence, the Boxers, a secret society opposed to Western influence, rose up, attacking foreigners and Chinese Christians. Cixi, seeing an opportunity to unite the people against a common enemy and assert China's sovereignty, gave her support to the Boxers. The result was catastrophe. An 8-nation alliance of foreign powers intervened, occupying Beijing, looting the capital, and imposing harsh indemnities on the Qing government. Cixi was forced to flee the Forbidden City, her authority in ruins. Yet even in the aftermath of disaster, Cixi proved remarkably resilient. She returned to Beijing in 1902 and embarked on a new program of reforms, belatedly recognizing the need to modernize the state. She encouraged the abolition of the civil service examination system, the creation of new schools, and the establishment of provincial assemblies. She even began to lay the groundwork for a constitutional monarchy, though these reforms would come too late to save the dynasty. Cixi's personal life was shrouded in secrecy. She was said to be a woman of great beauty and charisma, with a keen intellect and an iron will. She loved art, music, and the theater, and her court was renowned for its opulence and sophistication. Yet she also endured profound loneliness and loss. She outlived her son, the Tongji Emperor, and her nephew, the Guangxu Emperor, both of whom died young. She never remarried, and her closest confidants were trusted eunuchs and ladies-in-waiting. To her enemies, Cixi was a tyrant, a scheming despot whose selfishness and conservatism doomed China to decline and humiliation. To her admirers, she was a patriot who did her best to defend the nation in an age of unprecedented turmoil. The truth, as always, is more complex. Cixi was a product of her time, navigating a world of constraints and dangers that few can imagine. She ruled for nearly half a century, longer than any other woman in Chinese history, and left an indelible mark on the country she sought to preserve. As the end drew near, Cixi's grip on power remained unshaken. In 1908, knowing that her own death was imminent, she took steps to ensure a smooth succession. The Guangxu Emperor died suddenly. Some suspected he was poisoned on her orders, and the young Puyi was named as the new emperor. A day later, Cixi herself passed away, closing the final chapter on an extraordinary life. Her legacy is still debated. Some blame her for the fall of the Qing Dynasty and the chaos that followed. Others see her as a shrewd survivor, a woman who did what was necessary to hold a fracturing empire together. What is beyond dispute is the magnitude of her achievement. In a world that denied women formal power, Cixi ruled the most populous nation on earth. She was at once a traditionalist and a reformer, a ruthless schemer and a devoted mother, a symbol of both the glory and the tragedy of imperial China. In the decades since her death, Cixi has become a figure of legend. Her name evokes images of silk-draped chambers, whispered conspiracies, and the intoxicating scent of power. She has been vilified and romanticized, condemned and admired. Yet beneath the layers of myth and propaganda lies the story of a woman who refused to be confined by the limits of her birth, her gender, or her time. The story of Cixi is a reminder that history is shaped not only by great men, but by great women. Women who, in the face of overwhelming odds, find ways to make their voices heard and their wills felt. It is a story of ambition, ingenuity, and the enduring human desire for power and purpose. For nearly half a century, Cixi ruled from the shadows, her hand guiding the fate of an empire. She navigated the treacherous waters of court politics, outlasting her rivals and maintaining her grip on power through war, rebellion, and foreign invasion. She saw the world change around her, from the ancient rhythms of imperial China to the dawning of the modern age. And in the end, she left behind a China forever altered. Its old certainties shaken, its future uncertain, but its history enriched by the memory of a woman who dared to rule. In the quiet halls of the Forbidden City, where the echoes of the past linger in every gilded chamber, one can still sense her presence. The empress who ruled from behind the screen, whose intelligence and determination shaped the course of a nation, remains a figure of fascination and debate. Her life is a testament to the power of the human spirit to transcend boundaries, defy expectations, and leave a mark on the world that endures long after the final curtain has fallen. As time marches on, and new generations look back on the tumultuous years of China's last dynasty, the story of Empress Dowager Cixi continues to inspire awe and reflection. She was, in every sense, a woman of her own making, a ruler in the shadows whose light still shines through the mists of history. If you enjoyed uncovering the secrets of China's Shadow Queen, hit the like button, subscribe for more powerful history stories, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next one.